everybody, welcome back to A Cast of the Past, where best friends get together to talk about old games in a new light and sometimes give you a top 10 list. Today is one of those days. I'm Josh.
And I'm inspired by the hit motion picture, Tom.
And why would you say that, Tom?
Well, you know, just like how you, Josh, are coming soon to a theater near you, I'm all about promotional tie-ins, you know? When I go to buy a book, I don't want like the original cover of a book. I want a picture of an actor from a movie that the book has been turned into with a big obnoxious sticker slapped on the cover saying, based on the hit motion picture, you know? I need a tie-in,
Buy
baby.
this book because there's a movie about it.
Yep. Buy the book, don't read it, go see the movie.
Yeah. Or you're gonna buy soon to be a major motion picture. Like, I hate that. I hate that. But yes, this is a podcast inspired by or based off of a true story, I guess.
Yeah. And what true story are we telling today, Josh?
Well, today we are going to be talking about our top 10 licensed video games.
Yes.
Now, when we talk about licensed video games, though, there's a lot of games that come to mind automatically for people. And they're like, the Arkham games, or, Marvel's Spider-Man that came out on the PS4, or any insert Star Wars game here. But we're not going to do that. We are going to be looking at licensed games that are based off of a movie, a TV series, or some other form of pop culture that's directly related to the subject matter itself. So if it's, let's say the Thor video game that came out on the Wii and the PlayStation 3 and stuff like that, based off of the movie, that would be included with this. It won't probably be because it's probably one of the worst games out there. But think about all the LJN games that came out on the NES. You know, Total Recall, Platoon, Terminator, Terminator 2, Predator, Aliens. All those games that are based off of movies would be included on these lists. So
it could be included.
And that's what I think I made this a little bit more difficult to do, because it's like you got to find something, one, good, and two, based off of something already. So
I'm going to be upfront with you. You suggested this topic. I enthusiastically said, let's do it. And then I immediately realized, I bit off more than I can chew. But I did cobble together a handful of games that I am pretty much sure I can passionately recommend. And even if they're not great, I think that they're fine examples of the phenomenon of game tie-ins, where they're basically like, buy this game and also buy this other product that this game needs you to know about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's two on my list that you might think, that's cheap. That's a easy way out of it. But I'll explain why they're both on my list the way that they are. So,
all right. Well, why don't you kick things off? I think the last couple of lists have gone first. Josh, why don't you take us through a tour of tie-ins, please?
Okay, yeah, sure. So it is the mid-90s. Everything is extreme. Everything is so cool. Everything is, just you got to find these words that are just so extreme and so awesome together, right?
Bodacious, radical.
Right. So what are two words that are in a video game that are just sound so cool together? And it is Maximum Carnage.
Oh, two very 90s words and a very interesting choice. A game that in terms of Cast of the Past canon, you have discussed before.
Yes, I have talked about it on an episode of Jaeger's Retro Review. It is based off of the comic series from that time, and where it actually has panels of the comic set up to kind of narrate what's going through the game. It is an awesome beat 'em up game where you get to play as Spider-Man or Venom. And then you have Captain America's in there. I think Hawkeye was in there too. You have so many different bands of Marvel characters in this one, where you can only play as the other two, but you can call the all those other heroes in as support characters almost for you. And it does follow the entire Maximum Carnage storyline. Parts of it are a little different than the actual comic book itself, but I think to get the point across of what that comic series or that whole episodic set of comics entailed, it did a really good job at representing it in a video game form.
Fantastic. So Josh, I actually want to ask you a question, and I think this is a question that we should throw back and forth to each other over the course of this episode. So, did you ever own or interact with the product that this game was tied into? In this case, the issues of the Spider-Man comic book.
Yeah, I have some of the issues. I don't have the entire set of the comics themselves. I do have a couple of them. I think I have like the first two and then the last one. But in the comics, it was like so much more like in depth of what was happening. I think they went to visit the Fantastic Four because Reed Richards was making a gun to be able to blow the symbiote off of Carnage and stuff, off of Cletus Cassidy, I think.
Cletus Cassidy.
Yep. And it was really cool. But yeah, and I also own the game in its awesome red cartridge. But did you know the Sega Genesis version came in a red and a black cartridge? Gotta get those variants.
I did not know that. I was unfortunately not a Sega boy. I only ever saw the Super Nintendo cartridge. Did you have or experience the comments before or after the game?
I experienced the game first, and then I found out that it was a part of the comics, and I was like, "Oh crap!"
Would you say the game effectively sold you on the comics?
Oh yeah. Because I was like, I want because there's probably parts of the game I don't think the comics were just going to be a beat 'em up.
No, I got you.
But yeah, so that's my number 10, Tom. What is your number 10?
Well, my number 10, I figure, you did something that was previously discussed on a Cast of the Past. I'm just going to do something that was previously discussed on a Cast of the Past. I am going to recommend or talk to you about Enter the Matrix. The tie-in video game, a third-person shooter / melee combat title meant to promote the Matrix sequels within the year 2003. And this came out on the PlayStation 2, the Xbox, and the GameCube. And what's really interesting about it is that, besides being a third-person action game where you can control characters with all the range of Matrix powers, bullet time, hand-to-hand kung fu combat, weapons combat, there is also 45 minutes of original live action footage that was filmed by the Wachowskis and a good chunk of the Matrix cast that is exclusive to this game, which tie into storylines within the Matrix Reloaded, which was released very close to this game, and then would ultimately build up to the Matrix Revolutions, which was released in November of 2003.
Yeah.
So this was basically not just a tie-in, but it was lore enhancement. You know what I mean? If you played this before or after, you got a taste of what Reloaded was, and then once you saw the movie, you had an even clearer picture of it. So I think it was really cool. I doubt it's aged very well. I haven't played it since I played it back in the day.
Yeah,
but I had a lot of fun with it back in the day. And one last thing I'll say about it is that this game has quite possibly the coolest cheat system in the history of video games, in that there is a menu within the game that's entirely Matrix code. And if you kind of figure out or look up how to navigate and create the code and input code, that's how you unlock cheats and stuff in the game. So it's a pretty good series of promotional gimmicks for the movies tied into, a full-blown release of a video game.
Yeah, I think going back to the special features thing, I think the only other form of media that I remember with a cheat code like that built into it was the Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone DVD, where where you go into the special features, you can actually go up to the brick wall, and if you tap the bricks in the order that Hagrid does it, it opens up another section of special features inside of it.
That's cool. That's really neat. I like that.
I mean, it is awesome. Enter the Matrix, from what I remember, was awesome, but it also was a tie-in, I believe, to the Animatrix as well.
There are elements, yes, because one of the Animatrix short films, Final Flight of the Osiris, basically sets up not only a plot point in The Matrix Reloaded, but a mission within Enter the Matrix. So they were doing cross-media promotion all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah, it was awesome. No, I think that's a good pick. It did not make my list. So did you play Enter the Matrix before or after Matrix Reloaded?
I am pretty sure that I saw Matrix Reloaded first, which was hilarious because I went to the theater with my dad. He had not seen the first Matrix, so I'm sure he was confused AF. But I'm pretty sure I played Reloaded first and then obsessively played Enter the Matrix until Revolutions came out. So
nice.
The movie sold me on the game, basically.
No, that's good. That's good, though. Mm-hmm. So my number 9, and this is going to be the first controversial one that I'm going to be talking about. Ooh. And I'm going to talk about Star Wars Episode 1. That's it. The games.
Not Racer?
No, the games.
Oh, plural. Oh, look at you.
Because Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, Star Wars Episode 1, the movie, the game, and Star Wars Battle for Naboo were all 3 games that came out for Episode 1, and all 3 of those games were fantastic.
I agree, with the exception of the PlayStation game, which was the movie, the game, because I never got a chance to play that. But 2 out of 3, I can say yes, fantastic.
It's really rare that you have a bunch of games come out based off of one property and they all exceed the expectations of what licensed games are supposed to be. And I'll answer your question right now. No, they didn't sell me on the movie itself. The first trailer sold me on the movie.
Okay, fair enough.
But did I own all 3 games? Yes. Did I play them religiously?
Nice.
Yes. And the funny thing is, Battle for Naboo, I played on the N64. Pod Racer, I played on the computer. And the Episode 1 game, I played on the PlayStation. So it was like I had a wide variety of where I was playing Episode 1 at.
Different games, different consoles, different experiences. I like it. I like it a lot. I mean, I'll forgive you for playing a PC game, but otherwise,
that was
pretty good.
I was young and naive. I didn't know what I was doing at the time.
Awesome. Well, how would you rank them?
So I haven't played. Oh man, I haven't played Battle for Naboo since it came out. So I'd probably go Racer 1 and then Battle for Naboo.
Gotcha. Racer, I will agree, is such a terrific tie-in. To take one brief 15-minute segment of a movie and turn it into such a well-developed and exciting and replayable concept as that game did. It's one of the best racing games ever. Forget just in terms of the Star Wars canon of video games. Terrific.
That's
really
a game
terrific.
I'll go back and constantly keep replaying because it's just so good.
Mm-hmm.
But what's your number 9?
Well, you picked a series of games to kind of stand in at a number. So I'm just going to knock this out because I'm also kind of scared that maybe you were going to put it on your list. So I just need to grab it really quick. The Burger King trilogy. These are 3 Xbox 360 exclusive games released over a 5-week period in the winter of 2006. And they were sold at Burger King. If you bought a value meal, you would get one of them, or you could buy them individually for, I think, $4 or $5. But they are 3 separate titles. They're not huge games, but they're games. They are Sneak King, which is a stealth-based game based around the old commercial campaign where, people would wake up in bed and find the Burger King mascot next to them, giving them a burger, or they would be at the grocery store and he'd be like shoving a burger in their face. It's basically just sneak up on people and give them a burger across 4 different levels. Then there was Pocket Bike Racer, which was a pretty in-depth racing game based around miniature motorcycles. You could customize vehicles, choose different racers. There was 5 tracks for $4. That seems pretty decent. And then finally there was Big Bumpin', which was a bumper car game, which featured notably among the characters, not just the king, but Brooke Burke, who elder millennials might remember from Wild On E! The very thirsty show about coastal towns and things you could do in them. And so that happened. But yes, this was a trilogy of full-blown video games sold at a fast food restaurant.
Do you know these are supposed to be top licensed games, right?
What does that mean?
These games weren't good.
Well, Well, here's the thing. I said at the top of the list that maybe not all of mine are going to be good, but I think these are iconic in that, like, I mean, I'm really bummed this has never been tried again. I don't know. I think just them going all in on the popularity of the King mascot, because in the mid-aughts, the King, that was a huge advertising campaign. Once they hit it, they were like, oh, he's the new face, the creepy mask, the goofy commercials.
I love the King. He's still one of my favorite mascots next to Wendy's Twitter.
Exactly. And maybe social media has just kind of destroyed the need for things like this.
So, did owning these games make you want Burger King more?
No, I always want Burger King, so I'm good. But Josh, what are you craving? What's next on your list?
So, a lovable franchise from the 90s. Well, actually, I'd say late 80s, 90s, 2000s, and current. Mixed with Grand Theft Auto's mechanics. Ladies and gentlemen, The Simpsons Hit and Run.
Oh, dang. Okay.
I mean, exactly what I said. It is The Simpsons cartoon humor mixed with Grand Theft Auto.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure. Ask away.
Is this the most critically acclaimed Simpsons game of all time? I think this is the most well-received one. It is next to the old arcade beat-em-ups.
Yeah, next to the arcade beat-em-up, this is the pinnacle of Simpsons games. So, well, because Hit and Run, you had Hit and Run, and then you had, there was the other one that came out too.
The Crazy Taxi clone, right?
Yes. Road Rage.
Okay.
Simpsons Road Rage. That was good too.
Okay.
And then you had the arcade game. Those would be the three best Simpsons games. Now, take it or leave it. The ones for the NES or Super Nintendo weren't terrible, and Genesis. They weren't terrible, but there's been better. But this right here, I mean, has almost the entire cast come back minus one person, and I can't remember which. I can't remember which character or which cast member didn't come back for it, but it was a whole licensing thing where he didn't want to do his voice in video games and stuff like that. But it was good. The story was great to it as well. And at the time where The Simpsons was kind of starting to fizzle out, because this happened right before the movie, they brought this out, and it kind of rejuvenated The Simpsons a little bit more to kind of get them to say, like, hey, don't forget about us. And then the movie came out. The movie was fine. The movie game wasn't terrible. The movie game has the easiest trophy / achievement that you can get in a video game.
Press start at the opening menu.
And it's called the easiest achievement you'll ever get, or something like that. But yeah.
Nice. Very good choice. Yeah, I agree. Kind of. That was a weird period where, The Simpsons came roaring back to life based on that movie. Yeah. You should never count that series out. Everyone's always like, oh, it's dead, it's dated, it's not funny anymore, and they always find a way to come back. So
yeah, from the ashes.
Don't count them out just yet.
But what's your number 8, Tom?
Well, I'm going to stick in the realm of iconic TV shows, although I'm going to dip into one that kind of has lost a lot more luster than The Simpsons ever did. I'm going to be talking about Reign Game of Thrones, a 2018 game based on the Reign strategy game series, but this was specifically licensed to tie into the final season of Game of Thrones. Now, this is a kind of choose your own adventure / political scheming game where one by one you unlock one of 9 popular Game of Thrones characters and put them on these little adventures of navigating life as king of the 7 kingdoms of Westeros. And, as soon as you start, you have to choose your hand, you have to do your king's council. You've got to make decisions affecting the whole kingdom. And every choice you make affects things such as your perception with the public, your relations to the church, the religious power within the kingdom, the economy, things like that. So it's a choose your own adventure game, and every choice has a significant impact. And the better or worse you do, you can meet your end in a number of different ways. You can piss off the public so much that they revolt and kill you, or you can be such a good and kind king that your advisors kill you because they realize that you're about to ruin all the corrupt things they have going on. You know what I mean? or even ultimately, you can do such a good and prolonged job at ruling that the Night King eventually invades and you have to succeed in defeating him, or you end up a frozen corpse on the throne. But anyway, any of those endings that you could possibly get are probably way better than the TV show endings. So it's something, if you're a jilted Game of Thrones fan, I would definitely say give this a look, because it might appease you in ways you didn't expect.
I'm pretty sure that this just came out on other consoles too, right?
I believe as of right now, to my knowledge, it was kind of PC based and it got a Switch port. I cannot confirm or deny without looking that it came to like PS4 or Xbox One.
Yeah, I remember seeing it at one of the stores, but you mentioned the Switch store. That might have been where I saw it, but it also might have been. I think it might have been on Xbox as well, but I'm not sure. It does sound fun. I presume you said you've watched. This came out right towards the end of the series, so you were already
this came out late,
neck deep inside.
Yeah, this came out.
Series.
Yes. This came out late 2018 and then early 2019 on the Switch. So I bought the game because of my fandom for the show. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about something happier than the end of Game of Thrones. Hopefully. What's next on your list?
Well, my number 7 is based off of a book. Now, not a comic book. I'm talking like an actual book.
A book with words and
like,
dead trees.
Yeah, no pictures.
Oh.
Even on the cover, there's no pictures.
Boring.
Yeah, I know. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the cover of it is just a blue like sleeve. And on the front of it says Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six.
Oh, okay.
I played this game on the PC a long time ago, late 90s ish when it came out. I didn't know it was actually a book. I still never read the book, but it has spawned a significant franchise. Rainbow Six, though, it was so unlike any game that came out at the time, where it wasn't just a first-person shooter. It was a tactical squad-based game where before each mission, you had to go and plan out where each one of your teammates was going to be going inside of that place and how you were going to either take out everybody or rescue the hostages or what they were going to do. And as you're going, they'll be like, oh, we're at this position right now. And you tell them like to hold as you're going through and doing your thing. And it was so like, it was kind of like a SWAT team simulator almost. And it was so cool and so unique. And then it came out on the N64, and I tried that, and it just didn't hold up the same way, because the N64, you can't really do what you could do on the PC. And don't even get me started with the PlayStation 1 version, where you have to use the D-pad in a first-person shooter with no analog sticks, which is even crazier that they put that in the PlayStation Classic. It's like, why would you put a horrible port of that game in the PlayStation Classic? But hey, I don't get paid to make those rules. But Rainbow Six was an awesome game. And like I said, I didn't know it was based off of a book before it came out. I didn't even know who Tom Clancy was. I was probably 8 to 10 years old. Like,
yeah, you're about 50 years younger than Tom Clancy's target audience. So,
right,
you know.
Exactly. So, and I didn't hear about Tom Clancy again until Splinter Cell. Which is,
okay.
I think it's also a book series as well, but I'm not sure. Sam Fisher isn't. But anyway, Rainbow Six, awesome game.
Have you bought any of the books?
No.
All right. Wait till you retire. I'm sure you're going to have a couple. We'll revisit this episode when you're 60. And hey, just as a side note, if you want a SWAT team simulator nowadays, just go on Twitch and piss off the wrong people. All right, moving on from that tasteless joke. So in the vein of sticking to first-person shooters, I'm actually going to talk about an iconic James Bond Nintendo 64 game that isn't GoldenEye.
Thank you.
Because it's a dinosaur. Give it a rest, guys. It was good back in the day. It's still fun in bursts. Just give it up. Much better, honestly, is The World Is Not Enough, a 2000 EA published game that tied into the 1999 Pierce Brosnan film of the same name. This was developed by Eurocom, and it's better than GoldenEye just in comparison, for an N64 era first-person shooter in almost every way. Better gunplay, much better controls. They figured it out by that point. Not obviously, it's still rough playing with one control stick, but they polished it a lot better than GoldenEye had been. Much better graphics and incorporation of like actor licenses and even voice clips. Like there was actual lines from the actors in the cutscenes of this game, so a little bit of a cinematic experience. Multiplayer is still very fun. And yeah, this is just a really well-rounded tie-in to a Bond game, to a Bond film. And it's just a lot of fun. Definitely would recommend if you haven't picked it up. If you've only been living in the GoldenEye bubble your whole life, you've got to give this a try.
But it doesn't have Sean Bean.
Well, no, it has characters related to World Is Not Enough.
Right.
But,
no, I get
move on. Move on.
Yeah. Did you play the game before you saw the movie?
I may have. I honestly have a weird timetable of when I saw World Is Not Enough. Oh, you know what? No. I saw World Is Not Enough in theaters. That was the first James Bond movie I was allowed to see in theaters. So I definitely played this afterwards, given that it came out in 2000 and World Is Not Enough was 1999. So yeah, definitely saw the movie first. And when I heard about the game, I was like excited. I was like, oh, great, a new James Bond game. And it's based off that movie I liked. So boom.
Number 6 on my list, I'm going to say it again, has been covered on this podcast. Well, not on this podcast, but on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/castofthepast. It is Star Wars, the arcade game. Based off of
that was the first episode of Jaeger's Retro Review, might I add.
Correct. Yes. Based off of the trench run of the Star Wars A New Hope. I was going to say the original, but the first, but it's Star Wars A New Hope, episode 4. It is awesome vector graphics. It is the best part of that whole movie, really. I mean, the movie's amazing, but the trench run, like, it is so iconic. And the fact that you get to play it, but the added part to it is, if you can find one in an arcade, is finding the original sit-down cabinet of it, where you're sitting inside of, it kind of looks like a little bit of a TIE fighter thing, where it's like a cockpit that you sit down in, and then you have the controller that you're playing. It sells itself. The arcade machine itself is fantastic. The game is great. I really want to get one of those arcade 1-ups of it that's coming out, because they are releasing a sit-down version of it too.
Whoa, nice.
Yeah, I know. And the arcade version comes with the Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi game, which they're all right. They're not as good as the episode 4 game. One even crazier thing is it's an arcade game from the 70s that has vocal tracks of Alec McGuinness, Mark Hamill, and Harrison Ford inside of it. So, like, that's a big thing for a game that came out in the 70s in the arcades.
And I'm sure the clips were taken directly from the movies, because I cannot imagine anyone getting Harrison Ford to sit down and record lines for a video game.
Yep.
He would probably just punch you in the face and be like, leave me alone.
But yes, that was my number 6.
So Josh, did you play this game first and then go, Star Wars, I better check that out?
No.
What was the picking order of this?
Not. No, I grew up watching Star Wars, but then I saw the arcade machine and I was like, this is amazing. Like this.
What was the arcade? What arcade did you see this in? Just out of curiosity.
It was one of 2 arcades that I can remember seeing this in. The arcade in the Frackville Mall.
Okay, I vaguely remember that one.
The arcade in Hershey Park that has all the retro arcade machines inside of it.
Okay, yeah, that's a big arcade. I could conceivably see that even still being there. All right, very cool. Yeah, while we're still in a galaxy far, far away, I'm going to talk about a Star Wars game. This was a 2005 release that was meant to tie in to Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, but it is not Republic Commando. It's actually a first of its own kind. I'm talking about Lego Star Wars. The first time that Lego dove into a movie franchise with the kind of huge swath of collectibles and unlockables that we appreciate and understand it as today. This was strictly centered on the prequel trilogy, episodes 1, 2, and 3. And what's pretty cool is that this came out in March 2005, so it predated episode 3. So if you were spoiler tolerant enough, you could pick up this game and actually, get the down low on what's going on in episode 3 before the movie even came out. But this is back when I think the Lego games were honestly at their peak of, they didn't go all in on voice acting like recent Lego games have, which I think is personally a bad thing. This was all the characters of the films in Lego form, reenacting the film franchise, but through just comic slapstick, action and dialogue-free, witty goofiness that sold the coolness and the wonder of the Star Wars series, but with the goofiness and charm of Lego.
Yeah, there was a lot of charm in that. That's really the best word to use for what those games were.
So this was, in my opinion, really great, tied into the movie, and I just love this. I love this series. I loved the peak era of the Lego games. Absolutely.
Yeah, actually, all of the Star Wars games I think are fantastic. The Lego Star Wars games, the movie ones, not the Clone Wars one. I enjoy even the Indiana Jones ones that came out because I think that one still didn't use voice actors. I think the Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings were the ones that first started using voice acting, if I'm not mistaken.
It was Lord of the Rings. See, it was Lord of the Rings. That was the first one that dipped into voice acting. And then from there, Lego Jurassic World, Lego Star Wars Episode 7 have all had voice acting. I'm honestly kind of worried about the Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga game. I'm really worried that they're going to go voice acting on it. Yeah. I would love to just see all my movies silent.
I hope they would keep it silent and keep it. But I know that it's going to be a whole brand new game. It's not going to be like a rehash of the original 2 games itself. It's going to be actually built from the ground up, all brand new, which is fine. Lego Dimensions is probably the best form of voice acting that they've done in games because it's an original story. So they actually got good voice actors to voice stuff, and there's some really
nice.
good and comical scenes in it, but no Star Wars in there.
Well, because they couldn't get the licensing because of Disney Infinity, but that's a sad story for another time.
yes
So Josh, I'm curious to see what your next pick is. Maybe we're going to move away from Star Wars.
We are moving away from Star Wars. Yes, we are going to go to a game that acts as a kind of alternative telling of a movie, but also acts as the third part of a trilogy. And that is Ghostbusters, the video game.
As soon as you said as of a trilogy, I was like, is he doing it? Is he doing it?
You have the original cast back in almost kind of a retelling of the first movie to a certain extent, but it was such a fun game, and the fact that it got re-released on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Switch just shows how much love there was for this game. It has awesome multiplayer to it. It had a really cool not only co-op campaign, but it also had like an online multiplayer thing where you can just go and bust ghosts. And I'll be honest with you, busting made me feel good.
Yeah, you would go that far to put that statement out there?
Yeah, I would.
You're brave.
I love when I got the upgrade and I was just shooting my goo all over the place and just trying to get all the all the ghosts. I kept taking there's ectoplasm everywhere. But no, it is one of those games, like, people always talk about how the Arkham games make you feel like Batman, or the Spider-Man game made you feel like Spider-Man. Like, this made you feel like a Ghostbuster. The way that they reacted and interacted with you in the game, the way that when you shot the beam out, it would actually like burn holes in the wall, and like just made it seem like you were actually in that Ghostbusters universe, that it was so seamless to what the other 2 movies were. And I think it deserves to be on this list, and it deserves to be high on these lists. And the fact that it's number 5 only means that there's good stuff coming up.
Yep. And hey, I got to say, it's the last, appearance of Harold Ramis as Egon Spengler. So it's something special. It's the final time he got to portray that character. So yeah, if you're a Ghostbusters fan, I could absolutely say you should check that out.
Absolutely. What's your number 5?
Well, my number 5, honestly, I would have to say it's based off a guy who's so cool, I would give him a high 5. Number 5 is the 1993 Sega Genesis / Super Nintendo platformer Cool Spot, starring Spot, the mascot for 7-Up soda.
Yeah, which one are you doing? Are you just doing the Cool Spot? You're not doing Spot Goes to Hollywood?
Well, I got a note about that.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
I'm only doing Cool Spot on the Sega Genesis. Again, as I said, 93. This was a 2D platformer, and you're just guiding Spot through all these kooky, crazy worlds. It's just, another in the long line of mascot platformers from that era, chasing the success of Sonic and Mario, but nobody ever really coming close.
But was it a 2D? I thought it was isometric.
You're thinking of Goes to Hollywood.
Oh, okay. All right, never mind.
Spot Goes to Hollywood.
Yeah.
Okay. Josh, you want to talk about the sequel so much? I'm just going to tell you about the sequel. Spot Goes to Hollywood, the Sega Saturn isometric sequel, is not a 7-Up tie-in game because they remove like Cool Spot explicitly has 7-Up in it and 7-Up kind of imagery and branding. Spot Goes to Hollywood is just, we're taking the character and we're just making another mascot-based game out of him, but the 7-Up branding was gone. So only this one game, Cool Spot, is actually a tie-in for 7-Up.
How crazy!
And they eventually did retire the character.
Yeah, how crazy is it that they made a game off of the red circle in the 7-Up logo?
Like I said, I've said this on the podcast before. In the 90s, people just seemed like they were more interested in trying weird stuff in video games. And a lot of the times it worked.
So did it make you want to drink 7-Up more?
I can't remember, honestly, how much more 7-Up I did or did not consume. I just know that when I made the mistake of trying Mountain Dew for the first time at age 10, it set me on a course that I don't think I've yet to come back from. So I'll say that.
I think when it came to the 3 of them, it was 7-Up, Sierra Mist, and Sprite. I think Sprite is like the king of that kind of flavor town.
Oh, I thought you were going from top to bottom. Yeah, Sprite is the superior soda. I don't remember the last time I've actually had a 7-Up, period. But,
do you know,
it's still there, I guess.
So, and I'm going to have one more follow-up question based off of this. What was a better marketing campaign? Spot or make 7-Up yours?
I will say I can't believe how much mileage they got out of make 7-Up yours. Like, that's a one-note joke that I think they got 2 years worth of campaigns out of.
Do you remember the t-shirts? It just said make 7, and then the back of it said up yours. I want
to meet a grown man who wore that out in public
I wanted one of those shirts so bad when I was in school.
I know, but now I would look at it and be like, oh, I would be shunned by so much of grown-up society for wearing that.
Yeah, it was pretty much like in that time frame, the late 90s, early 2000s. Like, your closet should have consisted of a Austin 316 shirt, a shirt with Cartman on it, and then a make 7-Up your shirt.
Oh, don't forget Bugs Bunny dressed in gangster clothes, or on the Scarface poster.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't complete it without that. Well, do you have something less tacky for your choice on your list next, Josh?
Yes. So I'm looking at my list here. This is gonna be my second one. That it's gonna be a 1-2 punch type thing.
Go for it.
The South Park Stick of Truth and Fractured Butthole storyline.
Very good choices.
Because
very good choices.
Stick of Truth is actually based off of an episode of South Park where they did the Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. And the Fractured Butthole is a continuation to another story inside the actual TV series itself, where the episode ends by telling you to continue the story through the Fractured Butthole. And then it came back around, I think, in another episode. It was like, oh, this is the conclusion now of what the fallout from that. But the games, two completely different play style of games. One was a turn-based RPG, and the other one was a grid-based game, very similar to like, I guess XCOM or Mario Rabbids, stuff along those lines. Both games, great. Both games, ridiculously hilarious. Probably two of the funniest games that I've ever played. And they tug with the pop culture references that you know that are funny. Matt and Trey are going to push the boundaries of what they can do in a video game, whether it's making fun of a country because they didn't want these particular scenes inside of it, so they blurred them out and called out that country in the middle of it, or fighting Kim Kardashian's aborted fetus that also happens to be a Nazi. I mean, what more can you want from a series of games? But the second one also goes off of the mindset of what the MCU has done with movies, and they brought it into a South Park story in a video game where you ultimately, as a side story, fight Morgan Freeman, who is God in the game. Like, it's so, both of them are so good, and I think combining them together was just magical.
Sure. I played Stick of Truth beginning to end. One note I had about it, I agree with everything you said. I love Stick of Truth. I just will say very low replay value. You know, once you do all the quests and beat the main game, all you can really do is just wander around South Park, and there's nothing really else to it unless you start the game over. I did not get to play Fractured Butthole yet.
They do fix that in Fractured Butthole.
More replay value?
Yeah,
okay, that's good.
Once the game's over, you can go back and you can do a lot of the other side quests. But some of your trophies are locked to story-based things that you need to do in a particular way, which is annoying at times, but whatever. I mean,
I gotcha.
If you're a trophy hunter or an achievement hunter like me, like, it's annoying, but other than that, I mean, it's still great to play through. I played through them and I laughed my ass off, and then I went and played them again for Becca, and she was laughing. She's like, there's no way that all this stuff could fit inside of a game and be the way that it is. And I'm like, oh, well, wait, it gets worse. When you think it's gone too far. I will also say the Stick of Truth has probably the only time in a video game, movie, TV series, whatever, that I absolutely felt disgusted in. And that's the part with Mr. Slave. I actually, like,
let's keep this safe for work.
Yeah, I almost was like gagging at that part because I was like, I got not offended, but I was like, it was uneased with that stuff. But it was good. I loved it.
If you remember a certain gerbil-based storyline in South Park, let me just say that's where this game goes with that. So it's gonna leave it there.
Yeah.
Number 4 is also soda based, and you're gonna call BS on me for this. You're already shaking your head.
It's Pepsi Man,
because I think it's Pepsi Man. Here's the thing. So Pepsi Man, a 1999 Japan only PlayStation release, in which you play the titular Pepsi Man, and you take him on his journey to run through a series of levels where you must help people quench their thirst by delivering Pepsi to them. He's taking his headset off. He's just so done with this. He's so done. No, for real. I got to play Pepsi Man at MagFest a couple years ago. Pepsi Man's fun. And Pepsi Man speedruns are hilarious to watch. Like, this is just one of those games founded on pure ridiculousness that, you know, this game just seems, you know, so surface level in simplicity. And honestly, it is. But that's what's great about it. It's just run, jump, deliver somebody a Pepsi. And it's got that iconic Pepsi Man theme.
So with Pepsi Man, isn't it weird that it's just the worst level of the Back to the Future video game for the NES, just in an entire game itself?
Yeah. No, because
you're just running around collecting Pepsi.
What's wrong with that?
And instead of getting on a skateboard, you're getting power-ups and just running faster.
But Josh, it's some of the most powerful, impressive running I've ever seen in a video game. Nobody runs like Pepsi Man.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, go ahead.
No,
Go
no,
ahead.
I'm just going to say, how dare you bring Pepsi to a Coke household? You know?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Give Pepsi at least this one thing. This is the only thing they've ever done good.
No, the only thing Pepsi has ever done good is created Code Red.
Pepsi Man is the only Pepsi product I can actually tolerate because actual Pepsi is ass.
Yes, it is. This is a Coke household, and how dare you? Coke doesn't stoop that low to make a video game.
Hey. I could go into an entire hour-long side tangent about the Coca-Cola Hotel, the Coca-Cola attempt to cash in on the popularity of Habba Hotel in the early 2000s, but that'll be for another time.
Well, the Coca-Cola, though, does have the lovable polar bear that you can go and meet and greet down in Florida, which we got to see him, and he's amazing.
Now, I'm glad he was able to come out in the summer and not die.
Yeah. I mean, global warming, am I right?
All right. It's a tragedy.
Number 3, though, we're going to go back in time. We're going to go to Saturday mornings. We're going to sit down with our bowl of Frosted Flakes, and we're going to flip on the TV. And what are we going to watch? Life is Like a Hurricane here in Duckburg. Ladies and gentlemen, DuckTales.
I wanted more.
Ladies and gentlemen.
No, what are you doing? You're not going to sing this song?
No. I'm going to leave that as Steve. Ladies and gentlemen, DuckTales for the NES.
Woo!
Fantastic game. It is the pinnacle of side-scrolling games for the NES. Capcom released DuckTales, DuckTales 2, Rescue Rangers 2, Darkwing Duck. What more do you need? They went back and they re-released these games on modern consoles because they're so iconic and they are perfect platformers. The soundtrack, which also, can I just say, the moon theme, which is a very iconic theme in the DuckTales game, is canon in DuckTales lore now, because the new DuckTales series, spoiler alert for an episode, when the boys are listening to a lullaby that their mom used to sing, it is the moon theme that she sang to them.
Oh, wow. That's great.
So now the game is canon in the actual new series. But it is just a great platformer. Gave us, it gave us the pogo attack, which is used in one of the best video games ever now, Shovel Knight. It gave us a lovable band of characters. It is, really, really closely based off of the TV series itself. It's so just enjoyable. And even the remake that came out in the 2000s was still fun and enjoyable if you can get your hands on it right now.
All right. Well, yes, an iconic pick and something I kind of expected to be on your list. Josh, were you a DuckTales fan before this game, or did this game make you a DuckTales fan?
I was a fan of the show, and then I discovered the game way later than I should have. I didn't have it on the NES when I was little. I actually discovered that a long whiles afterwards, and I was extremely excited when I played it, and I was like, man, this game holds up. Like, this game could go toe to toe with some of the Mario games from that era, and even like the Mega Man games. Like, it is just enjoyable that people will constantly go back and compare that to a lot of side-scrolling platformers.
Well, my number 3 is also a TV tie-in, and unlike Sourpuss Josh over here, I'm actually gonna sing the theme song. And all I have to say about number 3 is Go Go Power Rangers. It is the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie Game Gear game.
Oh, the Game Gear.
So the Game Gear game. Because in 1995, when the movie came out, my parents and my grandparents got me the Game Gear tie-in game. And I swear I'm not yawning because the game's boring, but it is a very competitive and intricate fighting game, considering it was on the Game Gear. It takes you through a story that's both a couple episodes of the TV show, because the TV show actually ran a few episodes that were kind of a lead-in arc to the movie. So it does those. and then it takes you through the whole plot of the movie where you have to like, fight and stop Ivan Ooze as he's taking over the world. And it all culminates up to the last battle where you fight him in space. And I put like, it's not a long game, but it's a game that like 7, 8 years old at the time, I was just like, I'm not gonna let this game defeat me. So I learned it like crazy, like I learned like all the combos and all the special moves and everything and the attack patterns of the enemies. And, it's a game you can beat in a pretty quick sitting, which is great considering how fast the Game Gear's batteries died.
Yeah.
But I got a lot of replay value out as a kid. I've not touched it probably since 95, 96. So I'm just going to assume it's still a masterpiece that has not in no way aged badly.
I like the Super Nintendo version, and one really cool thing about it was it had a kind of like a dual plane of action where you can jump to the front of the screen or jump to the back of the screen to fight people. If I'm remembering this one, because I'm not sure if it was that one or if it was the actual Mighty Morphin Power Rangers game itself. But
okay.
I remember the movie one. The only thing I didn't like with that game, and it's something that happens in a lot of beat 'em ups, and I don't understand why. If you use a special attack in the game, it drains part of your health. And I never understood why that is a mechanic that should never be in a game itself. Why? I've done like, that's like using Scorpion Spear, but you're losing health from it. Like, that's stupid.
Oh, I wonder if the attacks you're referencing were maybe just so overpowered that it was a balancing mechanic. Like if you're going to use this, you need to make sure that you're not just blowing it early in the game and just using it to just steamroll through the level. Use it appropriately.
Well, you had to build up that meter to be able to use it. It's like in Tony Hawk,
the Thunderbolt. Yeah.
Yeah. When in Tony Hawk, when you build up your special, that's like saying in Tony Hawk, for instance, I'm building up my special, but I go to use a special attack, but a special move, but when you use that special move, you bail. Like, it's stupid.
I can't look. That didn't happen in the Game Gear version, so I don't know. You're complaining about a different version. I got
That's
nothing
true.
to say.
You're talking about the Game Gear, which is one of the only games that people can talk about when it comes to the Game Gear.
It's Sonic Triple Trouble, baby. Nah. All right, so I need to hear your top. Let's get into your top 3, Josh. Or are we in your top 2 at this point?
Top
if I'm
2.
Correct.
Yeah, top 2.
Top 2, baby. All right. What's second place?
Second place, and the only reason it's in second place is because it doesn't exist anymore, unless it's on my Xbox 360's hard drive, and that is the Scott Pilgrim video game.
I'm actually disgusted.
You didn't put it on your list? It's
not on my list.
Oh, no.
I didn't even think of that because I'm an idiot.
A combination of a movie, combination of a manga, a combination of gaming glory of yesteryear, all combined into one. And the only reason, like I said, it's number 2 on my list is because you can't get it anymore.
Yes, this was a Ubisoft title, digital only, that was released in 2010 to coincide with Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the Universal Studios film. In fact, this game has the 8-bit Universal Studios logo, which still slaps, still absolutely slaps.
Yeah.
And yet, Ubisoft delisted it, and if you don't already have it on your console, you can't play it.
Which sucks. It's the first version of PT that we've really got. Like,
yeah,
it's a completed game though. It's just so good. Everything about it. The soundtrack slaps. The character
Anamanaguchi.
Yeah. The characters are great. The world, the boss battles, the references in the game, everything is just so good to it. And it hurts. And I know that they've been teasing for months now that it might get re-released and might come out. Like, if they do, they need to put it in a physical form because we need it. We need a physical version of this game.
Yeah, next month, as of recording this, will be the 10-year anniversary of Scott Pilgrim versus the World. So, I mean, why not, get it out there? I would love to see it. And if it, like you said, if it came out in physical, I would snap that up in a heartbeat. I don't know how many licensing things they've got to overcome, but I want it so bad. I really do.
Yeah, it's my second favorite movie of all time, behind Terminator 2. But that's you can understand why it's my second favorite movie then, because Terminator 2 is just a masterpiece.
They're both pretty dang good.
Yeah, and it's You hate to see it.
Shame that.
But yeah, I'm sorry that you didn't put it on your list. But what did you put on your list instead of Scott Pilgrim, Tom?
Well, I also have another movie tie-in, and this is another iconic one, but this one you can still get. My number 2 is The Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay, a first-person shooter prequel to the Riddick character entirely that was released to tie in with the 2003 film The Chronicles of Riddick. So, if you're not familiar with this sci-fi franchise, this is Vin Diesel pre-Fast and Furious, and he plays Richard B. Riddick, a super notorious space outlaw. He's like just one of the worst criminals, and he's part of this near extinct alien race. And part of his attributes is that he has regular human eyesight, but in the dark he also has kind of like a bat sonar kind of thing. So Escape from Butcher Bay is a video game literally just based off of a throwaway line from, I believe, Pitch Black, where they're just like, oh, that's Riddick, he escaped from that super high security prison. And the entire game is a first-person, shooter / combat game based around Riddick escaping from this super high-tech sci-fi space prison. And it's a combination of using first-person combat, but also Riddick's ability to see in the dark for stealth-type sections. And it is so well put together, so well constructed. You've got Vin Diesel coming in to voice Riddick, not only because he's proud of the character, but Vin Diesel, secretly a huge, proud nerd. He's a huge D&D fanboy. He is all about sci-fi, fantasy, things like that. So this is just him leaning completely into a character that he more or less owns, and that, he's got a chance to expand on the lore of. And it's a blast. I believe they remade it. I might be wrong about this because I was confused about it. Was it in 2013? It was a HD remaster, or was it a remake that added new content? Can you clarify that for me?
I think it was a remake that added new content, but I do know that they did do some sort of like a remake or a reboot of it itself, because everyone was like, when are we going to get another one? When are we going to get another one? They're like, well, let's just give you the same one.
Right.
So.
Okay. Nice.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, I guess.
It wasn't broken.
Yeah, there's 2 games that a lot of people talk about from that era that were amazing licenses. And it was that, and it was the X-Men Origins Wolverine game. Those were 2 that a lot of people...
X-Men Origins Wolverine. Yeah, I heard that was better than the movie.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't hard to do. But have you seen The Chronicles of Riddick, or have you seen Pitch Black at all?
So here's what's funny about all of this. I experienced all of these things like years afterwards. When I was like in 2003, I was in 8th grade, and I saw like trailers for The Chronicles of Riddick, and I was like, that looks dumb. In like 2012, 13-ish, I saw Pitch Black. Pitch Black is awesome. I saw Chronicles of Riddick. Chronicles of Riddick is really goofy, but really sincere. Like, I'm not entirely on its wavelength, but I appreciate all the stuff that they're doing. And I played Butcher Bay finally just because of that. I was like, oh, I found like a used Xbox copy, and I played it, and it rocks. Like, it really does rock. So I guess the movies inspired me to play the game, more or less.
Okay. I have not seen the Riddick movies, because I think there was 2 Riddick movies, right? Or just one?
There's 3. There's 3 at this point.
There's 3?
Yep.
Okay.
There's Pitch Black, The Chronicles of Riddick, and then Riddick.
Okay. So I seen Pitch Black when it first came out. Like, I think I got it on like VHS when I rented it. And I remember it being awesome.
Yeah.
I wasn't like 100% sold on Riddick the character, and then Xbox Magazine came out, and it was like, hey, try this. And I think there was a demo in one of the magazines for it, and I was like, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty fun game. But I never went through and played the whole thing, but everyone does say like it slaps.
Absolutely. Well, Josh, this is it. What tops your list? What is the pinnacle of tie-ins?
So it's, the weekends. You're sitting there, you got your bowl of cereal. You got your Frosted Flakes.
Once Saturday rolls around, Josh's diet consists of nothing but grains and milk.
The game is based off of the most fearsome fighting team. There's heroes in a half shell, and they're green. But when the evil Shredder attacks, you have a game that's called Turtles in Time.
All right.
And Turtles in Time is the best licensed game ever made, I think.
Tell me why.
It is the best beat 'em up during Konami's great run of beat 'em up games, which consisted of Turtles in Time, which consisted of the X-Men game, which consisted of the Simpsons game, which consisted of Sunset Riders as well. There's so many with my money. There's so many good games that came out at that time frame, but the pinnacle of it was Turtles in Time. It was an offshoot of the cartoon series itself, but also tied in a little bit with the movies, adding Super Shredder into it, which was also kind of a tie-in to the third movie where they travel through time. So you have 3 different layers of this turtle story based off of 3 different versions of the Turtles.
Did the game feature Toka and Razor from the second movie?
It did.
It did.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I didn't remember that. I don't remember.
Mama. Yeah, Toka and Razor are in the game. And wait. Yeah. Wait. Yeah, Toka and Razor are in the game.
Oh, that's great.
Hold on.
Great. They're my favorite characters.
Hold on. I'm leaving this in too because like somebody in the comments.
I didn't mean
to
throw
tell
you
me.
for a loop.
No.
Yeah, I didn't mean to throw you for a loop.
Before you go back in time, no. I think I know where I'm getting this at. Before you go back in time, when you're going to fight Shredder, where you have to throw the foot soldiers into the TV screen, you fight Toka and Razor. When you're in the past on the pirate ship, you fight Bebop and Rocksteady.
Okay.
Because
that's pretty cool then.
Toka and Razor aren't in the reshelled version, which came out on the Xbox 360.
You think that was a movie rights thing?
I think it might have been some sort of a rights because it was a much shorter game and there was a bunch left out. But I remember all 4 of them being in that game. So this might be a Mandela effect, or I might be going crazy, but I'm pretty damn sure that all 4 of those were in there because you had Slash, you had Baxter, you had Shredder, you had Super Shredder, you had Bebop, Rocksteady, Toka, Razor, you had the Rat King was in there as well. Like you had a wonderful line of you had Krang. When you go into the future, you had to fight Krang. You had a wonderful team of villains in that game that spanned the entire length of the Ninja Turtles, time frame. You go to Dimension X. I think it was Dimension X. You go to Dimension X. You go to the past. You go into the future. It's so damn good. Big Apple, 3 a.m. Like it's and all 4 characters, they play slightly different, but they all play the same. Like, but then pizza time and my toe, my toe, my toe. Like these are iconic catchphrases inside this game that people still kind of quote and joke around about today when this stuff is brought up. And if you talk to somebody about what's your favorite Ninja Turtles game, they're all probably going to say Turtles in Time.
Unless they're like 5 and they've only experienced like the new versions of TMNT and the games actually, associated with.
The new series isn't too bad. The new series isn't too bad.
I'm not criticizing anyone who's into the new incarnations of anything. But okay.
But what can be better than Turtles in Time, Tom?
Well, a movie tie-in that's so iconic that for years I think it was my arcade go-to, maybe in the same way that TMNT was your arcade go-to. And it's got a near dear place to your heart because it is Terminator 2 Judgment Day, the arcade cabinet. This was released in 1991 by Midway. It was, ties into the 1991 film by James Cameron, Terminator 2 Judgment Day. One of the most perfect movies / sequels ever made. And it's this big honking machine with the 2 machine guns that if you have seen Terminator 2, and I'll splice the clip, the opening future war montage, you see the Terminator rising up with dual wielded machine guns. Those machine guns in an arcade cabinet, and they're obviously too big for a human. So it's co-op, you one side, a friend on the other. And it's, in my opinion, it's probably my favorite arcade shooter of all time. And just frantic, fast-paced action of having to shoot down Terminators, HKs, everything that comes at you on the screen. You've got interactive buttons on the gun because the gun is so large, and it's just incredible. It's such an immersive experience. I remember there was a cabinet at the Hazleton Mall in the arcade that they had there for a long time. I believe I took you there once when we went to that mall, and you and I played some of that because the arcade also had Aerosmith Revolution X. I think they were like side by side with each other. So two of the best gun games of all time. And Terminator 2, it's such an iconic arcade gun cabinet that like not even the Terminator Salvation gun cabinet could top it, because that game, like, it exists, but does it really? I think Terminator Salvation's greatest legacy is just all of those Terminator Salvation arcade machines that have littered the country and that nobody actually plays in Walmarts and movie theaters everywhere. But Josh, as a Terminator 2 fan, what's your opinion of this game?
I hate this game.
What?
You can't get past the third level.
No,
wait, I'm sorry. You can't get past the fourth level, the one where John Connor's in the back of the truck shooting at all the HKs, because the game wouldn't let you beat it unless you put a cheat code in on the Super Nintendo or the Sega Genesis version to be able to skip past it.
Well, I'm talking about pure arcade.
I understand. You can keep pumping
Yeah.
quarters into it, but you're still not going to beat it because John Connor just keeps dying in that scene. He'll just keep dying over and over again because they want you to keep pumping the things in. Have you ever made it past that level in the arcade?
I don't really remember. I just remember having a great time with it.
Exactly. You might have a fun time with it. Yes. No, I'm gonna. If you want a good Terminator game, you want to play Terminator versus RoboCop or RoboCop versus Terminator for the Super Nintendo. Mm-hmm. That's an awesome game. But you bring this into hold on, because you bring this into our podcast here. And how dare you?
Oh, wow.
How dare you not talk about the home release where you go ahead and you can use the Super Scope? And you can actually use the interactor, where you actually put the vest on your chest. So when you're getting shot, it actually vibrates like you're actually getting shot in the real world. You don't talk about that stuff. You talk about the arcade because it has oversized guns. I'm sorry. How dare you, sir? How dare you?
My peripherals are better than your peripherals.
I'm trying to make it more interactive experience. Come on. We gotta. I'm flabbergasted right now.
This is the end of the show.
This is
if
ridiculous.
You stuck around, this is the end of the show.
I can't believe it. I'm going to put it up on the screen right now. This is our top 10 list of things that we just talked about for licensed games. Everyone tell Tom in comments that he's wrong. He put this game ahead of Scott Pilgrim. Just remember that.
I forgot to put.
He put this game ahead of Scott Pilgrim right now.
Oh, don't do that, because I legit am just upset that I forgot about it.
He didn't put any of the Telltale games on there. Wolf Among Us is fantastic. Hell, even the Punisher game. The Punisher game for the NES.
Well, hang on. I actually considered putting Telltale on here, but Reigns Game of Thrones was much better of an experience than the Telltale Game of Thrones game. So that's why I went with that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so... But you didn't have the Burger King trilogy on your list, so don't even get in my face. The greatest advertisement of all time.
Worst games? Hell, if we did another top 10 list where I put the worst licensed games on there, that would probably make it into at least the top 3.
You don't speak ill of Sneak King on this show.
I can't believe it, Tom. Well, you know what? Thanks for watching. This has been a Cast of the Past. Make sure to follow us on Twitch. Make sure to follow us on YouTube. Make sure to follow us on all
share, and subscribe.
Podcast streaming services. Oh my God! If the video isn't your thing, we have an audio version of it as well. It's on all the podcast streaming services: Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Audio Boom. You listen to podcasts somewhere, we're probably on it. If we're not, let us know in the comments, and we'll try to get there as soon as we can. But lastly, make sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms. You can stay up to date with what's going to be coming up next, as well as joining in on all of our discussions on video games, and let us know what your favorite licensed games are. We probably missed some, and how dare us not include them. But damn, if these weren't 20, well, at least 10 of these weren't really good. you
Josh.
definitely... What?
Josh,
Right.
you can't go to bed angry. How can we fix this?
But until next time, this has been Josh.
And Tom.
And I guess we'll see you.
In the future.